From Premier League champions to utter disappointment. 0-2 against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League quarter-finals.
Performance against PSG was bad. 2-0 didn't really reflect what happened on the night. They were terrible against Manchester City, so I can understand the argument for a change of manager. At the moment, it's not worked out.
From an impregnable fortress now gradually collapsing in a systematic manner. With hundreds of millions of pounds invested.
450 million, I repeat 450 million, I repeat 450 million.
Yet Arne Slot has shown no sense of continuity, but rather the suffocation of the Kop's identity through his conservatism and utterly unforgivable decisions.
To refer to the history of this club, how much impact Anfield can make for a performance.
So is Arne Slot deliberately trying to change Liverpool? Or is he simply too ordinary for the scale of a big club?
Yeah. Now I'm panicking.
Don't panic.
No, I am, because I'm going to lose my job.
But was you panicking?
Liverpool entered the match against Paris Saint-Germain as a big club, but left the pitch looking completely powerless. Losing 0-2 is not the most notable thing. It is the manner of the defeat. Throughout the 90 minutes, Liverpool failed to register a single shot on target, a figure that is not only poor but also reflects a complete breakdown in the way they operate. There was no pressure, no ideas, no resistance. They were simply swept away by the game.
I think Arne Slot has lost the fans. I think he's lost the players, and I think last night he lost the plot.
This is not the first time Liverpool have looked like this. This season, they have fallen into 3 separate runs of consecutive defeats. Not random slip-ups, but phases where they have been dragged down in a systematic way, with the same problems recurring: stagnation, disjointedness, and a lack of threat. And when you look at the bigger picture, it becomes almost unbelievable. This is Liverpool's worst form since 1954. Over 70 years of history is being dragged down by a team that no longer recognises itself. The phrase generational transition can no longer be used as an excuse. This team is in a real crisis.
And you think, how's it got to that? How's it got that bad? Really, and
Arne Slot arrived at Liverpool to replace Jürgen Klopp. Klopp built a Liverpool based on gegenpressing, intensity and controlled chaos, a team that suffocated opponents and constantly applied pressure. Slot is the opposite. He wants control, structure and for the game to follow the plan. And the result is that Liverpool are no longer frightening. They have become slower, more predictable, and at times completely harmless, like in the match against PSG, when they failed to register a single shot on target. This is not an upgrade, this is a deviation, when a manager imposes his philosophy on a team that was built for something entirely different. To be fair, Arne Slot did not get everything wrong from the start. In the early phase, he genuinely brought changes that seemed positive. Liverpool controlled possession better. Their build-up became clearer and more structured, and their pressing was no longer instinctively chaotic, but organised into a more compact team shape. For a short period, they looked like a more amateur version, less risky, less emotional, but seemingly more stable. But the problem is that none of it lasted. Moving into 2026, those very strengths that were once praised began to disappear. Possession no longer helped them control matches, instead becoming harmless sideways passing. Structured build-up no longer created chances, but only slowed them down and made them easier to read. As for the pressing, once organised, it has now lost both its intensity and cohesion, leaving Liverpool no longer applying pressure, but simply standing there. The most concerning part is that Slot has not only failed to preserve the old identity, but even the things he introduced himself have not been sustainable.
It's Klopp's team that he inherited.
I think we have to show that respect.
You can't have it both ways. You can't have it when a manager is unsuccessful saying, well, don't mind.
Arne Slot no longer has control over what he himself has created. The system changes constantly from one match to another, from 4-3-3 to 3-4-3, even dropping deep into a back 5, leaving Liverpool without any tactical foundation. But worse than the tactics is the way he handles his players. Liverpool do not just have a few individuals out of form, almost the entire squad is declining. Players who once exploded with impact, who once made the difference, have now become faded, sluggish and lacking confidence in their own roles. Salah, one of the world's top wingers with a killer instinct in front of goal, can now barely even convert a penalty. And Virgil van Dijk, once praised by fans as one of the best defenders in the world, is now repeatedly making naive mistakes, leading to goals conceded. Looking further, the £100 million signing, who made history with Bayer Leverkusen, brought to Anfield to shape a new era, Florian Wirtz, is also struggling to find his identity here. Now, Liverpool can only rely on moments of brilliance from Dominik Szoboszlai or Ugo Ekitike to cling on to any hope for the team. If one player performs poorly, then it is his fault. But what is truly telling here is that when the entire Liverpool squad is underperforming, it can only be down to the manager's system. It could be argued that the squad inherited from Jürgen Klopp does not suit Arne Slot's footballing philosophy, but he has spent nearly £500 million in a single summer merely to buy hope and a dream of domination for the fans. The Dutch manager's tactical approach imposes a structure that forces players to think more than to play, obliging them to hold their positions rather than move freely, suffocating their natural qualities. The result is a team that has lost its rhythm, its connection, and most importantly, its threat. Arne Slot's journey at Liverpool is not a sudden collapse, but a prolonged decline that everyone can see, yet no one can stop. From early 2025 to 2026, Liverpool have gradually lost their consistency, with a win rate hovering around 50%, a figure that is unacceptable for a team that once competed for every trophy. Their form has not just been poor in a few matches, but stretched across the entire season, with runs where they could barely win, highlighted by a period in which they won just one of 7 Premier League matches. But the problem is not in the number of defeats, it is in the way they lose.
And not quite knowing exactly what they need to do to play for Liverpool right now. And I include Isak, who come on there again, Ekitike and Florian Wirtz, who has got to do an awful lot more.
They were demolished 0-4 by Manchester City in the FA Cup, a match in which Liverpool were almost completely wiped out of the contest. Then, against Paris Saint-Germain, they did not just lose, they were utterly dominated, with no ability to respond, no signs of a big club. And what has angered Liverpool fans even more is the way Arne Slot reacted after match. Instead of looking for solutions to fix the problems, he continued to expose issues that only made his shortcomings even more evident.
It's completely fine with me if everyone wants to focus on the tactic.
Looked at the fact how many long balls we already had to defend, 178 in 7 games. And then United came and we had to defend 59 long balls.
The moment that laid everything bare came against Paris Saint-Germain, where Arne Slot made a defining decision, switching to a back 5. A change that seemed safer, but in reality showed that he was not playing to win, only trying not to lose. And ironically, he could not even achieve that. The 90 minutes ended with 26% possession and 0 shots on target. Not a lack of chances, but a complete absence of them. Liverpool barely touched the ball in the opposition box, created no pressure whatsoever, and were completely suffocated from start to finish. This is not a team competing. This is a team erased from the game. And what did all these decisions bring? The back 5 did not help them defend, they still conceded. It did not help them control the game, they were constantly pinned back. It did not help them counter-attack because they could not even get the ball past the halfway line. And when a big team enters a match without pressing, without control, without attacking, when they accept standing there, watching the opponent play for the full 90 minutes, then it is not just a defeat. It is a tactical humiliation. Arne Slot's problem does not lie in a few isolated wrong decisions, but in the fact that Liverpool's entire tactical foundation under him is collapsing in a systematic way. First is the pressing. Once the DNA of this team, it has almost completely disappeared. No more jigging pressing, no more intensity, no more cohesion in the way they push up to apply pressure. Instead, there are half-hearted, disjointed pressing attempts where individuals step forward out of sync, allowing opponents to bypass the press with just 2 or 3 passes. Liverpool no longer suffocate their opponents, they are bypassed far too easily. And when pressing dies, the identity dies with it. Liverpool no longer have vertical play, no longer those high-speed transitions that catch opponents off guard. Everything has become slow, cumbersome and predictable. Prolonged build-up with harmless sideways passes does not help them control matches. It only gives opponents time to reorganise and shut down every attacking lane. Football that once made Liverpool so frightening, speed and controlled chaos has been replaced by meaningless safety. But worse than anything is the chaos within the system itself. Slot constantly changes formations, with no stable structure maintained long enough for the players to adapt. Every match brings a different approach, every week a different role, and the result is that players step onto the pitch without truly knowing which system they are playing in. This is no longer tactical flexibility, this is tactical disorientation. And all of that leads to the final issue: overcoaching, Slot tries to control every detail, every position, every movement, turning Liverpool into a programmed team rather than one that plays football. But football does not operate like a blueprint, and when you suffocate a player's instincts, you also suffocate their creativity and their threat. Players who once played with freedom, with feeling and rhythm, have now become rigid, slow, and predictable. At this point, it needs to be said plainly, Liverpool's problem does not lie in the circumstances. They are not a club lacking money, not an inexperienced group, and certainly not a mid-table squad. Over the past 2 years, the club have invested around £450 million to upgrade the team, bringing in players suited to modern football and capable of competing on all fronts. But none of that has made a difference, because the problem lies elsewhere. Liverpool do not lack personnel. They lack the right system. A system that allows players to maximise their strengths, creates cohesion, and maintains a clear identity in the way they play. Instead, what they have is a disjointed structure, lacking stability, and not optimised for the very players at their disposal. And this is something Arne Slot has had no answer for throughout the entire season. Arne Slot is not a bad manager, but he is doing a poor job at Liverpool. And the reason is very simple. He does not understand the team he is managing. Liverpool do not need safe control. They do not need slow build-up. And they certainly do not need constant tactical experiments like a laboratory. That is not progress. That is how you turn an attacking machine into a harmless team. Liverpool need chaos, intensity, and the feeling that makes opponents collapse before the match even begins. But under Slot, all of that has been erased. The game has been slowed down, pressing has disappeared, players have lost their instincts. These are not minor mistakes. This is a manager dismantling the very weapons that once made his team so powerful. Arne Slot did not destroy Liverpool in a single moment, and at this point, the issue is no longer about form or results, but that Liverpool are gradually becoming an ordinary team, something unacceptable for a club with such history and standards. The question now is not whether Slot can improve the situation. The real question is whether Liverpool have the courage to admit they have gone in the wrong direction and act before this decline becomes irreversible. If you enjoy our video, don't forget to hit like to help this video reach to other football lovers, and hit the subscribe button to follow for more interesting videos about football stories. See you in the next video.